Tua Tagovailoa is getting benched. It's over. You don't come out and say what Mike McDaniel did. And Jake, I'm going to ask you to play the audio in a second. Just have it ready, please. You don't come out and say something like this if you don't have the intention of making a quarterback change. Like, could you imagine he gets up there tomorrow and goes, well, actually, all good. Tua's going to start this week. Listen to what he said. Jake, please play it again.
The quarterback play last night was not good enough. And so for me, everything's on the table.
Yeah, everything on the table means he's benching Tua. So the Miami Dolphins will have a different starting quarterback this week. I think it's close to 100% that that's the case. And it will either be, and get the laugh track ready, former Jet Zach Wilson. I think that's the most likely. Or former Texas quarterback. And we'll get to the guy that he started over last year, and a lot of people were upset about it, especially in the college football playoff game against Ohio State, Quinn Ewers. So it's going to be one of those two starting. The side and total right now for Miami's game this weekend. Miami hosts the Cincinnati Bengals. And Zach Taylor has already come out and said that Joe Burrow is going to start the rest of the season despite the Bengals being eliminated. And let me tell you something. If Joe Burrow doesn't play the rest of the year, after all the bitching and moaning he did, and all I want to do is go out and play and have fun with the boys, whatever, and he doesn't play, like something's up. Of course Joe Burrow is going to play. The Bengals are currently 2.5-point road favorites at Miami. The total's 50.5. Okay. I want you, the listener, you, the viewer, right now, to think about this game. If I told you that Zach Wilson or Quinn Ewers were starting for the Miami Dolphins on Sunday, I think that's what's going to be the case. And they were hosting Cincinnati, even with the Bengals defense being what it is. And Cincinnati was less than a 3-point road favorite. What would you want to do? Now, I can't guarantee that Tua is going to be benched. I can't guarantee that. But I feel good enough about it that I bet Cincinnati. I bet some Bengals. Like, please. This is going to be, in all likelihood, it's all likely going to be Zach Wilson. I wouldn't be shocked if it were Quinn Ewers either for the Miami Dolphins. So I think Tua Tagovailoa's time as Miami Dolphins starting quarterback is over. I think that was probably last night against the Steelers was the last game he will start as Miami Dolphins quarterback. And the Tua era ends, not with the bang, but with a freezing cold whimper. And I think we can actually have this conversation now. We were going to have it anyway, but I think this is now fully accelerated by Mike McDaniel's comments earlier today. Tua Tagovailoa is not going to be on the Dolphins next year. He's just not. He isn't. You cannot bring him back. Whether it's a new head coach or Mike McDaniel comes back, it cannot be Tua Tagovailoa. He stinks. It's obvious he stinks. The head coach is telling you he stinks. You can't look these players in the face and say this is the guy next year. We're not going to have to be the ones that pay for it. That'll be Miami Dolphins owner Stephen Ross. Because of the way Tua's contract, the way it's constructed, it basically doesn't matter when they cut him. They're going to have to pay so much money to him, and they're going to have to eat. So we're talking like an upwards of $60 million they're going to have to blow here to get Tua Tagovailoa off the roster. It's the worst contract in sports. Tua signed last July, for like a year and a half ago, a 4-year, $212 million contract. The worst contract in sports. Now, there are a couple others we can put in the conversation, right? The historical one that I will always go back to as a Yankee fan is Jacoby Ellsbury, who basically stole money from the Yankees for years and never played. But even if you want to look at, Joel Embiid, who's got an awful contract from the Sixers, it's awful because he's always hurt. That's why it's not awful because he sucks. It's awful because he's always hurt. Even if you want to say, Deshaun Watson obviously has a terrible contract and it's guaranteed, what? Injuries play a part in that also, and I'm not defending Deshaun Watson, but he's been hurt a lot. He hasn't been good, but he's also been injured. Tua, outside of the concussions, he's just bad. He's terrible. I don't know what the hell's happened here with Tua. And it doesn't really matter. He'll be on a different team next year if the Dolphins have any sense, and they'll move forward with a new quarterback. And as far as Miami and the coaching situation goes, right, with Mike McDaniel, I mean this, and I killed him before the year. Femi and I talked about this yesterday. I give Mike McDaniel a ton of credit for the morphing of this Dolphins offense into this run-first offense that propelled them on this 4-game win streak. They obviously lose last night. They were 6-7 going into last night's game. And I think he gets a ton of credit for that. He's not out of the woods. If this is going to be a disaster the rest of the season, he could easily be out. I also think he could easily save his job. And here's how it happens. And I think people should be able to figure this out without me saying it, but I'm the one with the microphone, so I'll say it. If it's true, and he does come from this tree, right? If Mike McDaniel is really like his old boss, Kyle Shanahan, if that's really what this is, then he should be able to take Zach Wilson or take Quinn Ewers and fashion a functional offense around either one. Functional offense does not mean greatest show on turf St. Louis Rams or 2007 Patriots. That is not what I'm saying. But it should be able to be functional. It should look better than it's looked with Tua. And both guys, Wilson and Ewers, obviously have more athleticism and mobility than Tua. And that's a huge win right off the jump. So if the final 3 games of the season, assuming I'm right and Tua gets benched, and the Dolphins off, even if they lose all 3 games, but the offense looks functional, I think that's probably enough to get Mike McDaniel back. Where if you're Mike McDaniel or you're Mike McDaniel's agent and you're making the pitch to Stephen Ross before they hire a new GM, it's, look, like the quarterback's bad. Give us a new quarterback and look, he's going to cook. I don't think they would say it like that. Listen, that's how I talk. He'll cook with a new quarterback. So I think for Mike McDaniel, last night was an unmitigated disaster. F-, on a national stage. They looked like they were freezing. This looked like every Mike McDaniel coached Dolphins game that's been played in the cold. F-. So he has gone, for me at least, from being on the right side of questionable to come back to now probably being slightly on the wrong side. But he can pull it out of the fire. He needs to bench Tua. He knows it. He's going to bench Tua. And then we'll see if the offense can be functional with either Zach Wilson or Quinn Ewers rest of the season. Because look, no matter how you feel about, and I'll just use Zach Wilson for an example, last point on the Dolphins here. If you put Zach Wilson on the 49ers, you don't think Kyle Shanahan's turning him into at least a passable NFL quarterback? Come on. I don't think Zach Wilson's not good. He's also not Trey Lance. He's had some good games in the NFL. I think Kyle Shanahan could turn him into a passable quarterback. If Mike McDaniel can, I think it'll be enough for Mike McDaniel to keep his job. I don't even know if I'd argue against that for the Miami Dolphins.